Greetings. My name is Dr. Waddell Brooks, Sr., your host, and this is Community Focus. Ladies and gentlemen, we have an outstanding program this morning. As a matter of fact, we're going to be talking about education. And we have with us Mrs. Tara Thomas. She's the Executive Director of North Shore Prep and Great Lakes Prep. Good morning, Mrs. Thomas.
Good morning, Dr. Brooks. How are you today?
Thank you very much for taking time from your busy schedule, literally from your busy schedule, to come to the studio to enlighten our listening audience about the vision that you have had for quite some time about an all-girls and an all-boys school. Now, they're not co-op, right?
No, they're two single-gendered schools,
Okay.
And they will be located on two different campuses. If I have my way, two different cities. But they're basically to serve the high-risk communities in Lake County. Many people think that all our schools are stellar, and we like them to be. But we, too, have areas that are struggling and have similar problems as they have in Chicago. Academically, I'm referring to.
Right. You have an overall mission, but your motto is learners of today, leaders of tomorrow.
Absolutely, and that's what we believe. We believe that our community is filled with wonderful learners who are going to be our leaders. I mean, I'm privileged to know pretty well Mayor Rockingham, Ms. Patricia Jones, Cynthia Maloney, Jennifer Weatherspoon, and we feel these people, they're doing a wonderful job. But wouldn't it be great if our youth from our community can step up in the next 15, 20 years and replace them and continue to lead our community? So that's what we want to do.
This is fantastic. How long have you been working on your mission statement?
Actually, the physical application of it, probably 2.5 years. I started after a wonderful school I was with, where I learned a great deal, Daisy's Resource Optical Center. I had the privilege of being there learning, even, Dr. Daisy, the wonderful thing about working there, I was able to teach for almost 3 years. And I learned a lot of administration as well. She wasn't selfish. She shared her wealth of knowledge. So I was able to get administration experience there as well. And we, unfortunately, were forced to close our doors. And when that happened, I saw a devastating look on I call her my doctor, Dr. Daisy Brooks. And I told this isn't over. We're not over. And prior to that, both my children, both my sons, attended all-boys college prep boarding schools in Michigan. And the first time I was on that campus, like around 2000, that campus naturally was predominantly Caucasian. The tuition was in excess of $30,000, but that included the boarding. And the young men wore the blazers and the ties and the khakis, and it was on a lake. And my first day there, I recall walking around saying, wouldn't this be great if our boys in urban communities could have the same opportunity? I mean, I remember it clear as day. And I walked around, I thought, just for the grace of God and their zip code or their income, they don't have this opportunity. And that's unfortunate. And as I drove that day, dropping off my oldest son, Patrick, I was going the wrong way. It was on me. The place was massive. It was like the University of Michigan. It's just 30,000 square feet. Huge. 50,000 acres. And they didn't have any direction signs. So the headmaster, which is what we call our principal as well, our headmaster, he was looking out of his office, and a young man blew his horn at me because I was going wrong. I was totally in the wrong. The headmaster flew out of the door. He said, on Orchard Lake St. Mary's campus, the woman is always going in the right direction. I knew then I had left my son in the right place. Initially, I was kind of, hesitant and nervous. My baby staying in a boarding school. When he came out and said, my son is not only going to get an academic education, he's going to get ethics and morals. And that is what I want to do at at Great Lakes College Prep as well as North Shore College Prep.
So, all-girls school, all-boys school is the direction that you want to go instead of a co-ed?
Because studies have shown, I read the Gurren Gurin report, Institute report, that students focus better in single-gendered. Girls aren't so worried about what the boys think of their hair or their fingernails or their shoes or their clothing or lack of. Boys always somehow, in the co-ed situation, academic studies have shown that they exceed girls because attention is given more to them and that teachers expect them to excel. They are expected to be leaders in our community. They're expected to be leaders in the family. With that, often girls will dumb themselves down. They will know the material, but to make their boyfriend look better, they will stand back and let him get the credit, when in essence she may have supplied him with the answers. So what we want to do is to encourage girls to be leaders. We're about to have, seriously, possibly a first female president. We're very close. She went to Wellesley, which is an all-girl college when she attended. And see how it exceeded with her. It told, in an all-girl situation, we constantly are striving to tell you, you can be a Dr. Cassandra Brooks, who received a medal from the president as one of the most outstanding principals in this country. You can be a top doctor. You can be president of the United States. And we don't say this. We give them classes that support this. So we're not looking at home economics. There's nothing wrong with home economics, but there's nothing wrong with engineering, aviational science. We're going to have aviation. We're actually partnering with Waukegan Airport. My husband is a pilot, and he keeps his plane there, and he's a member there now. And they have agreed to come in and teach an aviation class, ground school. So our girls are going to learn how to be pilots, how to be astronauts, how to be anything they want to be.
You've attended several sessions. Is Urban Prep in Chicago?
Absolutely. In fact, to be honest, I have three heroes in this order: Dr. Daisy Brooks, Dr. Cassandra Brooks, and Tim King. Tim King is the CEO, Executive Director of Urban Prep. And I had the privilege of reading about him 5 years ago. They actually opened their doors in 2009. And it was his vision. Now, Tim King actually is an attorney. He graduated from Georgetown undergrad and Georgetown's law school. Mr. King had a vision as well to help inner city boys to achieve the type of education that he had. He came from a very high affluent family. So Tim King doesn't, neither one of us really have an urban background, but we have an urban passion for our people. And so he had been the principal at I think, St. Ignatius. Don't quote me on that, but I know it was an all-boys school in Chicago. And his vision was to see everyone can't pay that tuition. Just like I feel. Everybody can pay the tuition in these Catholic schools, but does that mean they are not entitled to the same type of education? So he had this vision of an all-boy prep boys school. So I went down to visit him 2 years ago, spent the whole day at tour at the campus. I saw young black men between the ages of 14 and 18 wearing blazers, ties that were tied correctly, white shirts, khaki pants, black shoes, and they were neat. And when you walked down there, no one's pants was hanging down to their behind. You did not see anybody's underwear. These young men were tight. Now, people think, oh, well, they probably came from like Highland Park or, Lincoln Park. No, these kids live in Inglewood. From my understanding, Inglewood is a very high urban community with crime, shooting, the whole shot. These boys all live there. So, this year we had I say we because I affiliate myself with Urban Prep. We had 252 graduates, and they all went to have scholarships to go to 4-year colleges. And I think their average ACT is like 21 versus ours, which is 14 here in North Chicago, out of 36. So these kids come from the same thing, if not worse. They're all going to 4-year colleges. And right now, that's 100% of them. And he had his first college graduation class, 2014, I believe. And I think 90% of them, or 88% graduated in college. And the remaining 12 finished in 2015.
Well, Mr. King had a great opportunity to do recruiting from colleges, too, to let the colleges know the program that he has here?
Well, not from sitting down. See, that's why urban prep works. And that's what I've been doing for the last 2 years. You have to actually visit these colleges.
Okay.
I was at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas 2 weeks ago. I have a great report. They're coming here to North Chicago in October.
Oh.
We're going to have a meeting. I'm going to show them the various sites. They're coming here because they don't really receive students from here. Okay. Their tuition is only $11,000 for the whole year out of state. Now, I don't think CLC's is that low. So these kids can go to a 4-year college out of state for $11,000. But we're not going to worry about that because our kids are going to have scholarships, just like they do at Urban Prep.
And you've been traveling extensively to the colleges that...
I have. For the last 2 years, I've gone to Harvard, to University of Vermont, to Yale, to Dartmouth, to University of Michigan, Stanford, Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech. I've gone to over 88 universities. I've introduced myself. I told them, I said, look, our school is not open yet, but we're going to because I believe, first of all, the Lord gave me this. So I got to go on that. Secondly, I've seen the parents here, they want this type of school. They want their kids to go to college. And so there is a such thing called endowment money. And that endowment money is in the millions and billions of dollars on certain campuses. Harvard has $32 billion endowment. They generally use that money either to build a building or to give money to athletes. Okay? So I'm saying there's nothing wrong with athletics. I applaud the athletes. It's hard. Look at the Olympics now. However, what about the academic student, the student who wants to excel academically? Can you give me 3 of those scholarships? After I meet with these admission directors for like 20, 30 minutes, I show them our video. I show them where we're going. I show them our community. I show them these kids who want an opportunity. They're like, okay, we can commit to giving you 2 scholarships, 3 scholarships. So we have right now committed over 210 scholarships that these colleges, as long as our students do what they're supposed to do. Now, they've got to have at least a 22 to 24 ACT, and then that's where we come in. That's where North Shore Prep and Great Lakes College Prep comes in. We have to do our job to educate these kids to get those scores where they need to be so they can have the future that they deserve.
This is, ladies and gentlemen, again, we're talking with Mrs. Tara Thomas. She's Executive Director of North Shore Prep and Great Lakes Prep, and she's talking with us about learners of today, leaders of tomorrow. And I am learning right along with you. By the way, Ms. Thomas, we have approximately 750,000 people as our listening audience.
Good morning.
Listening, and this is a great opportunity for all of us to learn about it because we have a public school, and we want to know why. In order to have the type of product that you're working on, the public school needs the type of person like you. In the schools. So if the faculty in the public schools were excited about their program, then would we still need a prep school?
Dr. Brooks, that is an outstanding question, and it's a fair question. In fact, I've never been posed it before, and probably should have. I think that our public schools here, now, by the way, this is going to be a multi-district school. Okay. So students who live in North Chicago and Waukegan are going to be hopefully our first students, with the intention of opening it up to Zion, Benton, and Round Lake in year 2018, 2019. But let me just address your question. Okay. I personally think that you have some very good teachers here in North Chicago and Waukegan who do care about their students and who are passionate about their students. I think that I have met with Dr. Martindale, and he genuinely is concerned. People kind of don't understand him, but he cares about these kids. I didn't realize that Dr. Martindale's first job was at Neal, here in North Chicago.
7th grade teacher.
So he's not, it's not that, they don't care about it. But it takes a village. Now, you and I may have heard that. I was born in the late 60s, and I grew up hearing it takes a village. Okay. It does take a village. How do we differ? Public schools, you have the union, which has constraints, and they have to have certain guidelines. Right. Our guidelines are a little more varied in that For example, our teachers have to wear uniforms. Now, our teachers are in uniform because I feel that when you project a professional image, you're going to receive that in return. Okay. When you have teachers wearing short shorts to school and other revealing, apparel, it's a distraction. Our teachers are going to look very much like if you go into a bank, at Chase Bank, you see the manager dressed in his blazer, or she's in her blazer, or her shirt dressed like I have on today. Our teachers have to wear a uniform. So everybody's not going to want to teach with us because we're strict already, even with the teachers. Okay. We want the kids, if we're going to tell these kids they got to wear a uniform, our teachers wear a uniform. At Urban Prep, every male teacher there wears a suit every day, or he wears a tie and a jacket. So why are we different? We're different because we have rigorous standards. Or we have a rigorous curriculum. The public schools, also, we're going to require that our parents volunteer 10 to 15 hours per year. Okay. They don't get that kind of support in the public schools. Okay. You can't put it all on the teachers all the time. Teachers can only do so much for the 8 to 9 hours they have your children. We need the support of our parents. With us, if the parents don't support the school and they're not supporting the child, that child probably is not going to come back the next year. Okay. Now, if the child loves the school like we anticipate they will, they're going to want to come. So they're going to go home and say, Mom, you have got to come up here and do your part of your volunteer. We don't care if they work in the kitchen, in the cafeteria, if they help us put out flowers, because we're going to have a beautiful school. We're going to renovate buildings. It's going to be gorgeous. We don't care if the fathers shovel the snow. Okay. We don't care what you do, but you must put in 10 to 15 hours a year, which is, 1 hour a month, to do volunteerism in the school so that your child can see you have a vested interest. Yeah. But that's how we differ. And public schools can't demand parents to work there. We can.
Fantastic. What about the recruitment process of students now? There will be a choice that they can make?
Yes, in this school, we hope to be a partner to the public schools. We don't want to be exclusive. We're only, my objective, I taught in public schools. I love public schools. Okay. Charter schools, let me be clear, are public schools. I'm going to repeat that. Okay. Charter schools are public schools. So we don't want to I personally, as executive director, don't want to see any teacher in the public school lose her job. I don't want to see any program in a public school get canceled, and I certainly don't want to see a public school close. North Shore and Great Lakes will not be part of that. So what we've done to eliminate that is we're only accepting 50 students, 50 for 50 boys and 50 girls from hopefully from North Chicago, and 50 boys and 50 girls from Waukegan. So that's just 100 students. I guarantee you have more than that are either moving from the community each year or dropping out or switching to another school. So what we're doing is saying, stay here in our community. Let us show you what we can do. We can give you a Lake Forest education. We can give you a Stevenson education right here for free because your tax dollars, which would normally go to like North Chicago, will go to North Chicago's partner, which is us, for your child. But is this school for everyone? No. Again, 50 students from each community. 50 boys from North Chicago, 50 boys from Waukegan. That's it. But these are kids who really want to go to college because our curriculum is strict. They have to take a foreign language for 4 years. Okay. They have to take Latin for 2 years. They have to take advanced math, advanced trigonometry, physics for 4 years, okay? They have electives, so that if they want to be a pilot, they can do that. If they want pre-med student, they can do that. They got to take biochemistry. These are not mandatory in a public school, but they are mandatory with us. That's why we are college prep. In addition, we have a program called ACE, A-I-C-E, and that we're partnering up and we're working on finalizing that with CLC College, where when the kids graduate, they will have an associate's degree. Now, every student will not have that, only our top 2%. But when they graduate, they will not only receive their high school diploma, but they will also receive an associate's degree, which is accepted throughout this entire country at every university, and they will start as a junior. So instead of coming in freshman year as a freshman, they come in with 2 years of college under their belt as though they had graduated from CLC independently. And they will start at 18 years old as a junior.
Fantastic. Well, life skills are a major part of the program too, right?
Absolutely. And I mean life skills in the basic sense. I mean, one of my pet peeves when I was at at Daisy's Resource Center, I would see teachers come in. I can recall one particular teacher, she dropped something as she was coming in. You're talking about life skills. I'm talking about basic skills. Okay. And the young man walked right past her, opened the door, walked right, excuse me, you didn't bend down and pick this up to help the teacher? Okay. So we're going to go back to real basics, because when we send you to UCLA or University of Chicago, University of Michigan, you're going to go there, you're going to know how to hold your fork. You're going to go there knowing how to lay the napkin. These are basic things that we take for granted because you and I know how to eat. But when we have our cafeteria, our learning doesn't stop when they leave their classroom. They're going to learn how to eat off of china. They're going to learn how to use crystal. We're going to educate these kids from the beginning to end. So when they go to the White House, they're prepared to be in the White House.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned about leaders of tomorrow. You will have let role models come into your...
Oh, I learned that from Dr. Daisy. At her school, I think really, and I don't think I'm exaggerating, I think once a month we would have a guest speaker from the community. Okay. Everybody knows her, so nobody says no to her, right? Okay. So you call somebody to come and speak to her, okay, what time? So yes, and now on Saturday when I was at Community Days, I met a group right here in North Chicago called Deltas, the Delta Sigma Theta sorority, but they have Delta girls and I think Delta gyms. And what they do is they mentor girls in tutoring in math, tutoring in etiquette, just whatever the girl needs. So they have, I've got to call their president, but one of their members said, I'm sure we would be interested in working with your girls' school. Wow. Just as the Qs, through Mr. Ben Grimes, I don't know if you know Mr. Grimes, they're saying like, hey, we would be interested in mentoring the boys. So we're going to have a mentor group anyway every day after school from 5 o'clock, till 6:30. But not only are they mentoring, these kids are being tutored in their classes. So if they're falling, we're not going to leave a child behind. That was a good slogan that President Bush came up with, no child left behind. Yeah. But we are not going to leave any child behind.
Now, what President Bush did, he has a great slogan, but it was an unfunded.
He didn't fund it, And I can tell you anything, right? Like I can have young kids to leaders, but how are we going to fund it? So, right, we didn't plan to do that. Fortunately, with our mentor group, there are grants. Some of these, like the Deltas, they didn't even ask. They didn't ask, but they got to be paid, subsidized some type of way. But you're right, if you don't have the money, then it's just a theory. But we're going to have it, and we're going to...
Speaking of funding now, I understand that the governor is highly behind charter schools.
He is.
Right?
Governor Rauner totally supports charter schools. There's also, I think, Rauner Charter down in Chicago.
Yes.
He really feels that families should have a choice. If it is your tax dollar, it's not like in a Catholic school or private school like Country Day or Woodlands, where you have to pay your taxes in addition to your money. We don't come from a community that have that type of luxury, but they do care about their kids. And I say that because I've heard so many people outside of our community say, well, the people in North Chicago, they don't care about those kids. The people in Waukegan, they just give them enough to get by. That's not true. I was at the Community Days this past Saturday collecting names on our petitions so that we can present them at our hearing when we go before District 60 and District 187. Okay. I had parents come up to me and say, give me some of your petitions. I'll have them pass out. I had business owners say, listen, bring some by my business, leave them, and I will help you get them. Does that sound like a community that doesn't care for their children?
Okay.
They absolutely do.
This is fantastic. Well, in order to have a successful program, do you need a board of directors or advisory committee? You
do. You have to have that prior to even submitting your proposal to the district. Okay. And we have a phenomenal, you probably know the majority of people on our board. Mr. Selkirk Newburn, he's on the board. Yes. Mr. Sam Cunningham is on our board. Shields Township Supervisor Cynthia Maloney. Okay. She's on our board. Everyone on our board is from our community. Okay. So we're kind of different than some other charter schools that were started here who kind of came in from another community. Our school is being actually from ground up being started from our community. Now, we are affiliated with a charter management organization, which you must be. Learn is a charter management organization. They are a network. We're affiliated with American Quality Schools. They're out of Chicago, but they have about 10 schools under their belt as well. So we're not coming without experience, without any type of organization. We have a strong organization behind us. As a matter of fact, Dr. Bacalus, who is the CEO of American Quality Schools, is a former state superintendent of school.
Yes.
Dr. Michael Bacalus. So we are with a seasoned educator. He was also the director of education under President Clinton in his second term.
Okay.
So we have a very strong academic force organization behind us, as well as two wonderful principals, who've agreed to come on board, and they will be responsible for hiring teachers. Now, are we going to hire teachers just from our community? No. We are actually putting out a nation search like everyone else because we want the best.
Yes.
And we're not saying the best aren't here. If they are, they're going to be hired, they'll be considered, and hopefully hired. But in addition to that, we've got to get a Latin specialist. I don't know if we're going to have a Latin specialist in our community. We have we're getting technology specialists. So we're sending out information to MIT. These graduates come from MIT. We want them to consider. So we want our kids to have top-notch educators because these educators are going to have top-notch students.
Ms. Thomas, you had mentioned about your husband being a pilot.
Yes, he is. He's a pilot.
He's also assists you in a technical.
Well, I hope so. My husband is a COO of a corporation, and I had hoped that he would retire. But he's kind of retired. But I wanted him to talk to Mr. Leon Rockingham because they were looking for a planning. That's what he does. He plans different cities and stuff like that. But hopefully, he will give us a lot of assistance in our school. Because that's his specialty. He knows he's been a COO, which is Chief Operating Officer. We want to have the best. We're not trying to look for nepotism, so I don't want to be accused of that saying, oh, well, she's hiring her husband. Only if he's qualified. He won't interview with me.
Well, you say you want the best.
I want the best, but I don't want nepotism either. So the way we get around the nepotism, because he would be related to me, then CMO downtown, they would interview him. So his connection with me, it might help, but it's not a guarantee.
Well, Lake County is interested in finding out when do you get started?
Well, we intend to present our charter this year, this fall school year, either the end of September, beginning of October.
Okay, the first step. Yeah.
Right. And you have to go before a hearing. So right now we're letting the public know so they can come out and support us at these hearings. I had the pleasure of meeting with the superintendent briefly of Waukegan on Sunday, and I've been to a couple of receptions for her. She's a wonderful lady out of Chicago. Who's open to charters. She comes from a city where charters are a lot of part of their education makeup. We also, I met with Dr. Martindale, he liked our premise. He liked the idea of the small numbers. He liked the idea of it being similar to urban prep, where the kids are guaranteed to go to college, and we're going to guarantee them if they do their part, we're going to get them there. So we've got to have a hearing at North Chicago. So we're asking the parents to come out.
When is the hearing?
I've got to call. Dr. Martindale's office has to give us a date to put us on their agenda when school opens in September. I think it's August 25th.
Okay.
So from that point on, we will get put on their agenda. We will have advertising in the newspaper, on the radio, hopefully like yours, in the magazines, like What's Happening. Mr. McAllister has been great about keeping us out there to let the public know. We're going to have meetings with the public groups, the Latino Coalition, NAACP. We're going to try to meet with top women of distinction so that we can let them know, so they can let the community know. And the churches, the Ministers Alliance, I think they call it Ministers Alliance.
Yeah, North Shore Ministers Alliance.
Right.
Yeah.
So all of them.
Pastor Stevenson?
Yes, and he has been very supportive. In fact, all of the ministers have been wonderful. Pastor Francis, Pastor Wilcoxon, Pastor Joshua Randolph, and these are just Pastor Robertson. They have all been, Pastor Woods. I don't want to forget anybody, but there's so many.
With a program like North Shore Prep and the Great Lakes Prep, they have to be excited.
We hope so.
Yeah.
We hope so.
Ladies and gentlemen, again, we've been talking to Mrs. Tyra Thomas, Executive Director of North Shore Prep and Great Lakes Prep. And I hope you've been just as excited about her program as I have been in listening to it. Her vision is for an all-girls school and an all-boys school separate. This has been Community Focus. My name is Dr. Waddell Brooks Sr., your host.